So welcome everyone to this pop-up breathing class. I'm delighted that you can join and just take a moment to get yourself set up. So lying on your back, on something comfortable. If you can't get on the floor, then lie on the sofa or on your bed and have a little something under your head to support your head so that you're level, that you're feeling level when you're resting. So just take a moment to get yourself sorted, lying down. And the reason why we often lie down for a Feldenkrais lesson is just to take the strain out of the spine and to reduce the effort. So in order to feel more, reducing the effort helps a great deal. So if you're feeling strain anywhere, you're less likely to feel it in a supine position where you're lying on your back. Now, for some of you who have sensitive lower backs, you're very welcome to bend up your knees and put your feet in kind of a wide standing position. So your feet are on the floor, your knees are bent, and your feet are maybe about hip width apart. So just find that happy place, that Goldilocks spot for your feet so that your back is comfortable and that you can settle in. Now, when we begin with the breathing lesson, I often ask you to just sense what you're doing right now. What are you doing right now that you're noticing without trying to change it, which of course is a little tricky, right? Not changing your breath by listening and paying attention to your breath is pretty much impossible. So just notice what you're noticing right now and noticing the pacing of your breath. You don't have to increase the volume. You don't have to increase the speed. You're just noticing the in and the out. And if you are able to breathe through your nose, then that's the ideal way to breathe. If you're able to bring air in and out through your nostrils. Just take a moment to sense that breath through the nose. And can you feel the exhale as well? Did you feel air coming down over your upper lip when you breathe out? Air traveling through the nostrils to the back of your throat. Let's notice. Sometimes we don't notice those little things of the air traveling. And let's feel just which nostril is getting more air. Often we have one side that's flowing a little easier than the other. So just close one nostril and just feel what's the flow like in that nostril. Test the other one, close the other one. And just feel which one's flowing a little easier right now. And as you sense through the lesson, it might change. You might feel some change there. And as you're sensing your breath, just notice the sensation around your face, your cheekbone, maybe around your jaw, around your ears. Notice if there's any residual tension in around the face, or maybe the tongue. The tongue is a big muscle in the mouth. And sometimes if our tongue is busy or tense, it can influence the way the air flows through the trachea. Notice where your tongue's resting in your mouth. Is it resting in the lower part of the jaw or hanging out in the middle? Or is it softly resting on the roof of your mouth, the palate? And if it is on the palate, where? Where is it on the palate? Is it more in the front, more in the back? Is it narrow or wide? Do you feel the edges of your tongue on the inside of your mouth along the margins of your teeth? And as you're noticing that, begin to do a gentle movement of swallowing. And notice, what does your tongue do when you swallow? Do you feel it pressing up against the palate, or pulling back, or sliding forward? What happens? Because everyone can be a little different in how the tongue moves when you swallow. And the function of the swallow is for the tongue to prevent food from going up into the sinuses. So generally, the tongue presses up and back to help the food move back and down down the esophagus, right? Not the trachea, and not up into the nose. So when we swallow, the tongue lifts and moves back a little bit. So just sense what's happening for you. And then bring your attention to your breath. And notice that when you swallow, the breath stops. You can't breathe when you're swallowing. And for a good reason, right? That's a very good reason not to, because you don't want food to go into your trachea. So that would be very unpleasant. That's when we start choking on something and coughing. So just notice the tongue, soft tongue, as it goes up and back as you swallow. Okay, and then just notice your breath. Bring your attention back to how the air is traveling through the nose, down the trachea, and into your lungs. And how does it empty? Just noticing, how do you feel that emptying happening? Where do you feel the emptying happening? Just put your hand on your chest, somewhere around your breastbone, and then somewhere around your lower belly. The other hand near your lower belly, and one hand on your breastbone, and notice the shape of your exhale. As you're breathing out, what do you feel happens? Can you feel a deflation somewhere, like a balloon emptying? And where is that balloon for you? Of course, the lungs are behind the ribs, behind the sternum, in your back. And so when you empty, you might feel that there's something that changes around the rib basket. And that rib basket goes all the way from below the collarbones down to your lower ribs, your floating ribs. And as you breathe in, the diaphragm, what does it do? What do you feel it does? You'll feel maybe the belly opens when you breathe in. So just sense that as the belly opens, that the basket, the chest will open too. Just feel that right from the top of your collarbones down to your pelvis, that there's a possibility for opening, inflating without effort. Please don't try hard. The moment you start trying hard, you might be interfering with that natural movement. So that ballooning feeling, well, that can happen through that whole part of you, the whole torso, right into the pelvis. And if it's not happening, just entertain the idea. Entertain the idea of this opening sideways, front to back, and up and down. Same thing that you would experience if you were to blow up a balloon. You would get all these directions of movement. Now, if you're finding it hard to feel, don't worry about it. It comes with simply observing and taking time to be and to attend to it, really, without the effort. I'm going to ask you to please bend your knees if they're not already bent, and stand your feet about hip width apart. And we're going to do something to help you feel that breath maybe a little more easily. Moshe Feldenkrais said that if you can't empty the lungs fully, it's very difficult to feel the breath. It's very difficult to feel the lungs and to feel the diaphragm. So I'm going to ask you to spend a little bit of time attending to your exhale. And notice how long your exhale is. As you breathe in and then you transition to your exhale, can you sense how long the exhale is? And you can count if you want. You can count or tap on the floor or tap your finger. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Are you able to get to 6 or to 7 or to 8? Or maybe right now you're comfortable at a beat of 3 or 4 with your exhale. Just stay with that pattern and begin to slowly lengthen your exhale. Now, to do that, there's lots of fun ways to lengthen your exhale. I like doing it by making a shushing sound or humming. So you do what's more comfortable for you. You can try one or the other. So what I mean by a shushing sound is a shh. Almost like you're kind of calming a baby. You're shushing, kind of sort of hoping to calm and relax. If you're holding a baby or rocking a baby, you might make that sound. So just notice if that works well for you for lengthening your exhale. And you can tap again just to feel for that lengthening. Now, for some people, humming is an easier way to lengthen the exhale. And you can just through the nose. If you can hum through the nose, you'll feel a vibration in your face, maybe a vibration in your throat or your chest. And that can be a nice way to lengthen the exhale. So just take a moment to pick one, pick the other, try both. Just feel if that influences how long your out breath is. and then rest. Bring your hands to wherever you're comfortable and just rest. And just notice. Notice where you're connecting with the floor. Notice the face, jaw, your tongue. And sense the length of your inhale and your exhale. Gently noticing without forcing anything. Gently notice, has it changed at all? And then check your nostrils again to see if there's any difference now in the flow through your right and left nostril. You might notice that there's something, especially if you were humming. If you were humming through your nose, you might feel like something has changed in the way the air is flowing through your nostrils and your sinuses. Interesting, isn't it? And once again, begin to notice the length of your exhale. So, and the shape. So put one hand on your chest again, one hand on your belly, maybe your lower belly below the belly button. And take a moment to notice the breath there, the movement, maybe the movement or the shape of that balloon is a little different. Is it calmer, quieter? Are you feeling a little more inclusive to the whole body, a whole body breath, rather than just a belly breath or just a chest breath, but a whole body breath? Can you find that space? And how do you sense your lungs now that you've exhaled a little bit longer? You feel how the beautiful tissue behind and inside that rib basket, how the lungs can expand in all directions, a spongy material. And even if you've had lung damage, you can still find spaces, you can still find places that would like to move a little more. Maybe in the back, maybe in the sides, maybe under your armpits. Who knows? They're there. And then begin to lengthen your exhale again. Lengthen your exhale and then pause at the bottom of your exhale for a few seconds. And when I mean pause, comfortably for, let's say, a 1001, 1002, 1003, and then breathing in and breathing out. And notice as you pause that maybe with the pause, you might feel something relaxing or softening somewhere in your body. Just take a moment to notice that. You breathe out, Pause for a comfortable amount of time. And if you're comfortable pausing for 10 seconds, then do it if you're comfortable. And notice how the diaphragm then moves to draw air in through the sinuses, in through the nostrils, into the lungs, into the lower belly. That pause can be quite a sweet thing at the end of the exhale. You might feel some softening in the belly when you pause. And what is a pause? What is a pausing of the breath? I prefer to say pausing rather than stopping, because stopping kind of sometimes implies effort. And so when you pause, you're allowing the diaphragm to rest. You're allowing the muscles of the diaphragm to rest. And you're allowing the change in the narrowing or the change in the rib cage to happen a little longer. And you might notice that the in breath might feel different after you've paused. You might feel a more expansive in breath, or a more powerful diaphragmatic movement. Sometimes when we breathe in a very automatic way, we stop feeling, well, what exactly is the diaphragm doing? But when we pause, we can feel. If you put your hands in your lower ribs, around your floating ribs, you'll feel a much more active contraction of the diaphragm in that area after the pause. Lovely. And rest again. Just take stock, just notice, how's your breathing now? Check your nostrils. Is there any change in the flow? Because it does switch. And it can be quite interesting. Sometimes they both really open up. Lovely. And then just take a moment to just roll your head a little bit right and left. Just feel the skull, the jaw, the face, any change in tension around the face and the tongue. And then bring your head back to the middle and just swallow a couple of times just to see, is there any change in the tongue? There's something that's changed in the tone, or the how wide the tongue is, how soft the tongue is, or maybe it's moving in an easier way when you swallow. And come to come back to your space and to your room, and you can roll to your side and slowly come up to standing. Just taking your time and just taking that sensation of that wholeness in your body, that whole breath, that space that you've created, and bringing that awareness with you when you come up to standing. Sometimes when we change, we transition to a different position, sometimes we lose that awareness. See if you can just sense into those spaces in the front and into the back, in the sides, and up and down. And you might notice that maybe there's a certain direction that you kind of, it's not as clear when you're standing. Just notice that. When you come up to standing, just feel how you're balancing your head over your shoulders. Where's your head over your shoulders, your ears over your shoulders? You feel like your head's balanced in a different way. And again, notice the air flowing in through the sinuses, down through the back of the throat. And as the diaphragm descends, this movement of breath into the pelvis, belly, chest, back, but not in stages, but all together. Like your whole body is agreeing with inflation and deflation. Sensing that all from the top to the bottom. Lovely. Thank you for joining me for this pop-up lesson. It's lovely to see you and meet you if you're here for the first time.